So the future of DC has just been announced and the game has been changed. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be recapping all of the news that we just got regarding the future of the DCU, as James Gunn and Peter Safran have announced the first part of the next chapter of DC movies and TV shows. Before I do, be sure to hit the like button, comment down below the projects you're the most excited to see, and your overall thoughts on the future of DC. Are you happy? Are you sad? Let me know, let's talk about it down below. So James Gunn and Peter Safran have come in and started the DCU, which marks a new era for DC, and they announced that Chapter 1 is going to be called Gods and Monsters. So if we're comparing this to the MCU, we have, the Infinity Saga, or Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 that compiled that. Well, Chapter 1 of the DCU is called Gods and Monsters. It's worth noting that before I get into any of these announcements, James Gunn previewed all 4 DC movies that come out this year, and he said on the record that The Flash will essentially reset the entire DC universe as we know it. He also teased that Blue Beetle will play a role in the DCU, which I'm here for. I love Xolo Maridueña and Cobra Kai, and I think they're really going to do justice to his character. And some of the first projects we're going to be getting are actually television shows, the first one being Creature Commandos. And the cool thing about this is it's an animated show, but James Gunn said that a lot of these animated projects are going to feature voice actors who are going to go on to play these characters in live action, so they're going to be both in and out of animation throughout the DCU. And the other TV show that's announced for an early start in the DCU is Waller, which is going to follow Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. She's sort of been a staple of prior iterations of DC thus far, so it makes sense they're keeping her on. But they announced that the true beginning of the DCU will happen on July 11th, 2025 with the release of Superman Legacy. Now I know it's no Henry Cavill, but we gotta move on. But James Gunn and Peter Safran announced that this marks the official beginning of the DCU, especially in terms of movies, and that James Gunn will be writing the movie, and he might be directing, but there's no director, and obviously the Superman has not been cast yet, though I know we're all anxiously awaiting who will be playing Superman next. And following up the Superman movie, we're getting a Lanterns TV show on HBO Max, which will focus on Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. I've been clamoring for some more Green Lantern content just because I feel like there's so much lore to tell there, and the way it was pitched sounds really intriguing, almost like True Detective in space. That sold me so hard, and this has automatically become one of my more anticipated DC projects as we move forward. I'm very anxious to see who they cast for that, but there is so much potential for that, as well as some of the other shows I'm going to talk about here in a second. The next movie that was announced is called The Authority, and this is like an ensemble movie, and James Gunn himself said this is a passion project for him. It's based on the Wildstorm characters, and again, I'm not very familiar with this, which excites me. I love when unknown stories like this are brought to the big screen, and I think that's what a lot of these DCU projects are going to do. It's going to be original storytelling, and James Gunn himself even said there's an emphasis on the storytelling here, which is something that I felt was lacking in prior iterations of DC content, where it just felt like they were trying to copy-paste the MCU. It seems like there's going to be a lot more care and heart put into a lot of these projects, which will automatically result in more success, in my opinion. The next project that was announced is called Paradise Lost, and I am very intrigued with this. It's a very cool premise. This show is essentially described as like Game of Thrones on Paradise Island, which is Themyscira, the home of Wonder Woman. A lot of people are calling it the Wonder Woman prequel series. I don't know if we're going to see a young Wonder Woman or not, but just based on the Wonder Woman films, every sequence that went down on that island was very intriguing, and I'm excited to explore more like that. I love the show Game of Thrones, and that fantasy type storytelling is just my cup of tea, so I think they're really going to do justice with this show when it does come out. But perhaps one of the biggest announcements we got, Batman the Brave and the Bold is going to introduce Batman into the DCU. Now over the years, we've had thousands of Batman, it feels like, from Batfleck to Robert Pattinson's Batman, which I'm going to touch on later, to even Christian Bale's Dark Knight trilogy. However, this is going to be the main Batman in the DC universe. In fact, we're getting Batman and Robin on screen together, which is something that we haven't seen really since Batman and Robin the movie, which is, we don't talk about. It's very bad. Of course, we've seen it in animated films and all that jazz. This is going to be pretty historic, honestly. I still don't know how I feel about having 2 ongoing live-action Batmans. I'll get into that later, though. The next project that was announced is Booster Gold. This is a character that I have no familiarity with. However, the pitch was pretty interesting. This character is supposedly a loser who, lives way in the future, but he comes back to present day so that he can be loved by people because he's sort of just looking for acceptance. That's a very interesting pitch, and I'm curious to see not only who they'll cast in that show, but how it will play out. Again, I love going into the unknown with a lot of these projects because I have no clue about Booster Gold. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is the next movie that was announced. So we all know Supergirl is in that Flash movie, so I think some variation of her will be the main star of the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film. It's being described as epic by James Gunn, and I'm sure it'll be pretty solid, but we have to wait and see. We didn't get a lot of info for that. And then the last movie that was announced in the first part of this chapter of the DCU is Swamp Thing is happening, and it's supposed to be a very dark horror origin story. Horror superhero movies haven't really been explored that much. It sounds creepy. So So that does it for all the announcements for the DCU Chapter 1 that we know so far. This is called Gods and Monsters. But then I love how James Gunn talked about and addressed the fact that we're having DC Elseworld, which is essentially everything outside of the main DCU timeline. This includes Teen Titans Go, the upcoming Penguin series, Joker 2, and of course, the Batman movies, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson, and we got an update on the Batman 2. It has an official release date of October 3rd, 2025, and it is going to be titled The Batman Part 2. Robert Pattinson's my favorite Batman, and this is one of my favorite takeaways, is that we're still going to get Matt Reeves' vision. It was even revealed that Matt Reeves had discussions with James Gunn where Matt Reeves essentially has creative control over his Batverse, and then you're going to have the main DCU timeline Batman. Again, to general audiences, this is going to be very confusing, and I think it's a little bit risky of a play by DC to go that route, but as a fan of Batman, I'm very excited that we still get to see Robert Pattinson play out the role, and I think we're going to get a trilogy and, you know, some great stories on HBO Max with the Penguin show. So the Batman Part 2 comes out in 2025, a new Superman movie comes out in 2025, and we're also getting a new Avengers movie in 2025. It's going to be an incredible year for both Marvel and DC, and it seems like DC finally, after years of fans begging, have sort of gotten back on track, and it seems like they have a clear vision for both their shows, animated, live action, and of course, their movie universe. I love how you've got DC Elseworld and the DCU, and they're not going to clash or combine. They can both stay their course and be enjoyed by everyone and not have to be connected. Out of all this, I'm still the most excited for the Batman Part 2 just because I love the Batman so much, but it is going to be exciting to see another iteration of Batman and of course another iteration of Superman, and hopefully we could see them come together on the big screen at some point down the line in the DCU. But there's a summary of all the DCU news that dropped today, as well as my 2 cents on it all, but let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on the future of the DCU. Which of these projects are you most excited for? Are you worried about some characters not coming back from current DC projects? Like, where's Peacemaker? That's a pretty big concern for me, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified for all my future reviews, reactions, rankings, all that good stuff, and until next time, we'll see you guys later.